Here on Treaty 7 territory, nestled in the Rocky Mountains with the mighty Bow River at an altitude of 1,309 meters. Born from coal dust in 1884 and ever-changing, this is Canmore, and we are Canmorites, and this is the Canmorite Podcast. Let's go. Hey there, it's me, Jeff Maw from the Canmorite Podcast. It's been a little while, and I'm really excited because I'm back in the studio here with my good friend,
Rob Murray.
Rob Murray, our new counselor. Well, one of our two new counselors. Rob, how are you doing?
I am pretty good. I have to admit, I'm a little tired. I'm sure you must be as well. I mean, we just had that giant Alberta Municipalities Conference,
Yep.
which was busy and a lot. It was awesome, but yeah, it was a big time commitment for sure.
Oh yeah, I'm totally exhausted. Like, it feels like ever since the election day, way back in October, it's just been like go, 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 go. We've had orientation, and then we've had, like you said, the Ab Munis conference, which is all the elected officials if they go to, and then we've also now we're like neck deep into finance stuff as well.
Yep,
It's pretty tough. So Rob, let's take us back to like election night. Okay,
sure.
like here we are. The results are coming in. Where were you at the time when that happened?
I was just like at home, to be honest with you. I'd kind of thought about going out to some sort of
Hmm.
party or maybe getting together with some people, but at the end of the day, like I'd been so busy, the election period had been so flat out. I'm just like, you know what? I just want to have a night at home, hanging out with my kids. I'll just,
Hmm.
chill out, relax, play some video games, and just, watch the election results come in on the website and just try to not think about it too much.
Yeah, that's a good thing, that sort of technique, because by then, the die has been cast
Right.
and everything's going to happen. So, what went through your mind when you found out you got in?
I mean, I was pretty excited. I saw the preliminary results. I was like,
Yeah.
this looks pretty good. I don't have anyone here beside me to like confirm that, but
Hmm.
I think it's pretty positive. And yeah, I was just really excited. I mean, it was just a culmination of something I've been thinking about and dreaming about for a really long time, and I was just super stoked that the voters of Canmore decided to entrust me with this new role and responsibility here.
Well, you did amazing for your first election.
Thank you.
I remember I was like sitting there. This is at Sage Bistro, and there's a couple candidates there, and then Sean had invited. I remember at one point they did this sort of like preliminary. Here we are. They had counted off like 55% of the vote, and I remember like Mayor Crowther kind of said like he was doing pretty good in the mayoral race. And then it came down to okay, and this is where the councilors are. And like the first person at that time was you.
That's right.
And then I was second, and I was like, oh, what the fuck? So, but anyway, I think it
And
says a
then you ended up beating me
well by a little bit,
by a little bit.
but really it doesn't matter. Like you're either
No.
in
Yeah,
or you're out.
exactly. Yeah.
Um, but I think you did really really well, and so tell me what was campaigning like for you? Because I know you alluded you had a crazy time during that with life stuff. What was this
Oh
campaign
yeah.
journey like? Fill me in, or for the
Yeah, for
listeners.
sure. So I mean, it was really interesting because I'd never run an election campaign before. So it's like I knew some stuff as far as like, some of the ideas that I wanted to present and sort of the direction I wanted to go with the campaign. But like actually campaigning, like that was a completely new territory for me and something, that my 25-year radio career didn't really prepare me for.
Right.
I think the one sort of thing that I took away from it that I'll do better for the next time is I'm going to allot a little bit more time for the campaign and sort of try
Hmm.
to keep my calendar a bit more clear. I ended up booking, because I'm a wedding DJ, I did 12 weddings over the course of
What?
the election campaign. Some like, I think I had like a four wedding in a row week and then a three in a row and then a three in a row. And so trying to manage that and all the clients and prepping for like all these multiple weddings while also like trying to, put out, my blog. I kind of did a little mini election podcast. I had, and attending the forums and just answering all the questions from the public. Like it was just like, holy moly. It felt like I was always doing about three things at the same time. And there were like five other things that I wasn't doing that I probably should have been.
Oh my God, it was relentless. I remember like in
Yeah.
August thinking like, oh, like campaign time's coming up pretty soon like you try to put it out of mind. Then I started like kind of plotting the things of what am I going to do, and like, all right, I'm going to do podcasts, similar how you did podcasts. I'm going to go to the market, be present there. But then once like things really kick in into earnest, like you said, like you get the emails from the various interest groups and community groups, and you want to answer those, and then you get all the forums, and the forums are
Yeah.
kind of like they're locked into place, and then you got like if you want to do socials, and if you want to like door knock, which I did not do, but there's like so many things, and I honestly like Rob, I think you ran like a lower profile campaign than some other folks, but I think everyone, no matter who they were on that night of election night, I think everybody kind of felt like, did I do enough? Maybe,
Right.
maybe not. You almost
Yeah.
feel like it's like there's maybe one more stone
Yeah,
to unturn.
totally. Yeah, I mean, the lower profile campaign was more a function of the amount of time that I allotted for myself. Like there was a lot of stuff that I wanted to do and I wanted to put
Mhm.
myself out there a little bit more. I mean, at the end of the day, I got elected, so I mean, that's really fantastic, but
Well, you
you know,
crushed it.
yeah, thanks. Definitely some learnings for if I decide to do this again in 4 years,
Okay.
about really being able to get out there a bit more.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things too with like with candidates that do really well, such as yourself, I think part of that's also like a testament to like how much you've done for the community in the years leading up to running. I remember talking to people while I was on the campaign trail, and people were saying, "Oh yeah, I'm totally going to vote for Rob Murray." Like, why? Because is he the
Nice.
morning guy? I say no, like they would cite things that you've done, like whether things you've done with CCH or like another thing that really stuck in people's minds. I don't know if you heard this, Rob, but this was back in the 2013 flood during all the craziness and the instability and the unknown chaos. A lot of people pointed back to how you were a DJ on Mountain FM and you were like a sounding, smooth, steady voice of reason that people really, really appreciated. So,
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I still get those comments, how many years later, 12 years later, still people still come up to me and say, "Hey, the flood, man, that was awesome." And
yeah.
I have to admit, like, that was a real turning point in my life as well,
Hmm.
the 2013 flood and just sort of that time on the radio.
Hmm.
It's actually probably the first place that sort of put me on this pathway to maybe running for council down the
Hmm.
road, because I ended up just really falling in love with Canmore. Like, I mean, it had been
Yeah.
my home since 2001, but just the way the community came together and really supported each other during that time. It was such a challenging time, and everyone was like, you know what? If your basement is flooded, like, we'll send over 5 people to go, help you out. If you, are been displaced from your home, let's help find you a place to go, or some clothes, or supplies, or whatever you need. Like, it just, fundraising, benefit concerts, and
Hmm.
just everyone really showed the Canmore spirit. I'm like, wow, this is a really amazing community. And I got to play a really unique role in a natural disaster and sort of being a part of, trying to help people get through that. And that was really special to me as well.
Yeah, well, I think there's moments in our lives where like you can like kind of take two steps. You can kind of take the easy step, or you can like rise up. I don't think there's a lot of those like decision points in our lives, but we can rise up for the right ones at the right times for our lives. We just get this crazy arc of then we kind of look back, wow, I didn't know I could do that.
Absolutely.
And so that kind of planted the seed back in 2013, and I know you were like contemplating running, and we've talked about it in the past before. So I know a lot of people know who you are, but just to reiterate to like people in podcast world, what are some of the big things that you're passionate that caused you to run for this term?
Yeah, I mean, I think uh, I'd considered running the last couple of elections, to be honest with
Hmm.
you, but it just wasn't the right time in my life and, my financial situation. But, in 2025, that's what year it is, right? Yeah,
It's
2025.
2025.
It is still. Okay. It was just like the stars just kind of aligned. Like I said, it's been something I've been thinking about and dreaming about for a while. I just, I've really enjoyed being on Mountain FM and having the opportunity to serve my community in a really unique way.
Hmm.
And I just felt this calling to serve my community in a different way. I'm really
Hmm.
passionate about, community, and that was one of sort of the three C's of my election platform. And it's just about sort of that vibe you feel when you're like at a Canmore Eagles hockey game or at
Hmm.
the Canmore Folk Fest, or just, that beating heart of our community is still there. It's, Canmore's changed a lot since, I moved here in 2001, and obviously people who've been longer will probably point to more changes,
Oh
but,
yeah.
the beating heart of our community is still active and thriving. And it's just something that I really want to, help amplify and protect. The affordability challenges are such a huge component of that. When we lose people in this community who don't want to leave, but they don't have any other choice because
Yep.
they can't find a place that's at all affordable. I mean, that breaks my heart every time I hear a story like that. And I think we've all heard those stories.
Yeah, for sure. Like I feel in this most recent, election, I think there was a strong mandate given to like many of the counselors that got in that, supporting this idea of like making our community um in some way affordable and economically viable for people to stay who want to stay. Yeah, I think that message was, loud and clear, despite what some people like may not want to see happen. I think there's a strong mandate on like continuing to push forward. How can we keep Canmore for our workforce, and how can we keep Canmore for people that want to put down their roots here and make this place better?
Totally.
And so we go through that. What do you? It's kind of interesting because when you talk back to like 2013 and then the floods and all that craziness. But in some ways, that almost seems like this is going to sound weird, kind of like the good old days when there's that sense of everybody came together. Like sometimes I feel lately, and maybe that's just me seeing it through the lens of a counselor, that there's been a lot of division and there's been a lot of us versus them, or almost like perhaps a class war where there's a very, a privileged elite few that have lived under a system that works fantastic for them, and damn everybody else. You just feed the system that works for them. How do you think we as counselors are going to start to like bring that sense back? Like I know it's there still, but in this day and age, like 2013 seems like a different world in 2025. Like, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny that you mentioned that. Like in 2013, I really think the flood back then was the first real time that like Facebook and social media became like I think it changed a lot of people's perception on how to use that tool. Before it
Hmm.
had kind of been just like place to post pictures of our families and tag other people in photos and that sort of thing. And suddenly in Canmore, we realized, hey, this is a great tool to communicate like stuff that's going on and getting real-time updates and we've seen that proliferate. But I've also seen sort of the darker side of social media as well.
Hmm.
It often is an opportunity for people. I guess what I'm trying to say is like it can be a really divisive place. Like there's just a lot
Hmm.
of people, who would say things behind a keyboard that they wouldn't say to somebody to their face, and that creates just some really negative conversation. One
Hmm.
of the things that I learned early on in my career in radio from a fellow I respect by the name of Al Ford, and he said, always keep your show positive, like whatever's going on in the world, and obviously there's difficult things that you need to talk about, but
Hmm.
like people wake up in the morning and they don't want to just hear doom and gloom. They want to hear, the great stuff about the community you live in. And I really tried to focus on that in my morning show is just sort of spreading positive vibes and that community spirit. And I want to take an element of that and bring it into, the council role. And, I really want to be a part of maybe turning the channel on some of the conversations we've been having.
Hmm.
We have a lot of hard conversations, a lot of people with different opinions, but we also have, a lot of similarities and a lot of common ground. And I really want to be focusing on that part to build out, okay, well, where are our differences? And, if we're focused on a similar goal, if we have these things in common, how can we collaborate and compromise to reach something that'll work for people?
Okay. And so yourself, like I gotta admit for myself, I'm kind of like I stepped back from the social media world um as a counselor because it was just really hard on me. And then I was up on it during campaign time, and then I'm probably just gonna stick with like, doing a podcast. What's your relationship with socials right now? Or yeah, just tell folks. Like how can they get a hold of you?
Uh, I mean, people get a hold of me, anyway. Like if someone
Hmm.
sends me a message somewhere, I'll answer it. But
Right.
yeah, I have to admit, I kind of suck on social media,
That's fine.
which is yeah, which is something I'm not really sure what I want to do with social media and communication with people. I'm just kind of trying to figure that out. I realize I've been pretty silent on my official channel since the election. It's mostly because I'm just like, okay, so how what do I want to do here? And, as a new counselor and someone, I've just really been focused on all the orientation we've been doing and just learning all the things and reading all the documents. And yeah,
Hmm.
like you were talking about budgets coming up here, like it just seems like there's a lot of really immediate stuff here that, that's something I'm going to focus on
Hmm.
when I have a minute to breathe.
Yeah, well, it's kind of crazy. Like I remember. and you could probably like relate to this expression, drinking from a fire hose.
Yep.
Um, Even though this is my second term, like orientation has just been insane. It was like literally we got voted in on Monday. By Wednesday, we're talking with Mayor Krauser about board appointments, and Friday is like boom. And then it's just been all these things, one after
Yep.
another, and then they're non-negotiable. They got to happen, and it's been crazy. Plus the context of like regular regular life too. Because I imagine you're still doing lots of wedding gigs and all the other stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely a seasonal thing with the local wedding industry. Like May through October is just really flat out. I've got a bit of a break now in
Okay.
November. It's a little quieter. Get into Christmas party season. A few weeks in December are pretty busy.
Yeah.
And then like January through May is typically pretty quiet. And I don't mind that. I like the quieter time to just sort of you know, puts stuff on the front burner that I've been putting on the back burner, you know?
Oh my God, my back burner is like so big right now. It's crazy. I was actually talking to my therapist earlier today, and I was just like kind of saying, well, this has happened with my parents. This is what's going on with like the studio stuff. This is, all the
Mm.
council stuff and blah blah blah. And then she's like, is that only your experience? And I was just kind of thinking in my mind, like how busy you've been. I can think of like Counselor Graham and like for example, like Counselor Hillstat. And it's like, no, it's just we're all trying our best. We all typically have other jobs that we're grinding our way through. And I think if people just understood how over these last couple of weeks, just like how like heavy the workload has been on like this community's brain trust, they'd be like,
Yeah.
whoa. That's not a
Can
flex. Mhm.
no, no, can I ask you a question actually?
Sure, totally.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, so I mean, you're someone who runs a business like I do. I've got my mobile DJ company, you've got your yoga studio. I
Yep.
find with council, I'm very focused in on my new job here and I'm really
Hmm.
excited about it. And I'm like deep diving into things and I think about things in terms of like municipalese now and
Hmm.
planning. Like for example, I turned on my water tap this morning and it made me think about like our water system and the new pump station and our wastewater treatment plant and the things that have been going on with that over the last few years. And it's just like so and that's something I never thought about when I just poured myself a glass of water before.
Hmm.
So uh, but I'm also finding that it's harder to focus on my other business, the one that I've been doing for a
Yeah.
really long time. I mean, how do you sort of um, divide that in your brain or divide those responsibilities so you're still able to accomplish both things at once?
Can I give you like the candid answer?
Yes.
Um, the honest, candid answer is there's only so many hours in the day. The council work kind of goes in these waves, and when the waves are big, it's like typically a really huge community issue, and there's a lot of background learning, and that's got to have full focus. And so, to be perfectly candid, there are times where my business has suffered.
Mm.
100%. I remember talking to like Wade about this, about like, he's got Float and I've got the yoga lounge. And
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
just talking about how like, there's all these things we would love to do. Like I would do this and I would do this and I would do that and I would consider doing this ad campaign. And I do the promotion here. Or I would change up the focus of the studio and all amazing things, and they don't happen. Or it takes a little longer for them to happen.
Yeah.
And so basically what I've tried to do now is like really kind of get the yoga lounge to a really strong baseline. And then when it comes to like that place where I could chase every single opportunity, I kind of got to be a lot more selective now. And
Mm.
uh and that's been kind of the way to go. But really I've also had to come to terms with my life as like a counselor slash business owner. There are just simply times where because this community service piece is so critical and important that sometimes my business does take a little bit of like a backseat. So
Okay. Okay. Good to know.
yeah, so like in the DJ world, if there's ways that you guys can like book gigs in a certain manner or whatnot, I would totally encourage that. The fact that you have like a bit of like up season and down season, I think that's really good. We have a little bit of that for the studio, but it's yeah, like it's tricky. I
Maybe I'll share a little sort of stuff that's helped me and my business over the last year. So I went to this big DJ convention,
Hmm.
or it wasn't a DJ convention, it was a wedding convention about a year ago now.
Yep.
And it opened my eyes to the fact that like the way I was doing like the admin side and the back end of my business was super duper dated. And there's all these CRM softwares and planning systems that are available
Yeah.
that really help automate the whole workflow and
Hmm.
keep you organized. So I switched over to a couple of new systems, and
Hmm.
one of them, like an inquiry comes in and it goes into its own little folder, and I've got some automated responses that I can send,
Oh,
uh,
amazing.
and then I can just move it down the pipeline if they want to book. The contract and invoice templates all there, so it's just like. And then once that's booked, I've got an automation with Zapier to like connect it to my DJ planning software and it automatically creates an event there. So it's like there's so much in the world of automation and CRMs that,
Hmm.
if you're a business owner and you haven't updated your back end for a little while, it's good to look into what's available out there because you could save yourself a lot of time and energy.
That's an amazing tip. Like I have some managers, but they're also busy as well. So that's huge. But like the fact that you think at that bigger systems level sort of process, I think people who voted for you and people who didn't vote for you should kind of take comfort that we have a counselor here, a new counselor on board who can actually see like the big picture and not just like the what, but the how.
Oh, thank
So
you.
yeah, but like in your mind, is there going to be like a certain point where you're going to hit full capacity for DJing plus council, or like do you think you've hit that point, or like have they like wicked into it a bit, or
Oh boy.
yeah.
Um, yeah, that's a really good question. I think, I've been really pressed over the years. Sometimes I just overcommit myself to things, and I've gotten to a point where I realize what my limits are as far as, like when I go over that, when I'm too overcommitted to things, like I just get
Hmm.
anxious and I can't sleep because I'm like, if I don't get 7 hours of sleep tonight, I've got 4 full days and I don't have a time to get a nap. And then
Yeah.
you go into that little spiral there. So,
Hmm.
I think it's about sort of knowing your limits, but it's also, I seem to have a large capacity for, being busy and being okay with being busy because sometimes busy is good. It means you're being productive. It means you're doing things. Ideally, it means you're making money and supporting yourself and your family.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm just really happy that I don't have to get up at 4:50 a.m. Monday
Oh
to
my
Friday
God.
anymore. That's probably the biggest thing that makes me be like, at least I can have like my slow mornings sometimes
So
once
like
in a
how
while.
so you were waking up that early for
Yeah.
how many years in a row?
20 is over 20 years that I did the morning show. So yeah, 5 days a week. And I have to admit, I'm not a morning person. It's kind of weird for a former morning radio host to say, but I'm much more of a night owl than a morning person.
So if you're waking up at 4:30 in the morning before, what is the new wake up time in the world of
Oh
Rob Gray?
gosh. Like, are you talking? Well, I guess when the kids are here and it's a school day, usually around 7:30 is
Oh,
when
that's
I.
totally civilized.
Oh, it's great! It's wonderful, and
Yeah.
even that is starting to feel like really early for me now. So it's kind of funny how your perspective changes on things. But yeah, no, I'm much happier with sort of the lifestyle that I have now,
Hmm.
as opposed to when I had to get up so early every day because I just get so tired all the time.
Oh, I couldn't even like that to me. That was like God level power stamina, to wake up that early. But I do find for a lot of the counselors because we have our own gigs. Like for example, you are an entrepreneur with your DJ business, and like I have an entrepreneur. But like we kind of do have a little bit of that flexibility, when
Hmm.
we can to sort of craft our days so we can carve out the times for our board meetings and for our council meetings, and all that stuff. And so there's one committee you and I both serve on, Canmore Community Housing. Like,
Indeed.
tell us your thoughts on CCH, because in my humble opinion, I think it's the most important committee we have for the town of Canmore. But you've been so stalwart in your support. Tell us more about your experience with CCH.
Yeah, I think this was a way for me to sort of dip my toes into the municipal government before I was really able to run for election. And I'm super stoked that I guess it was a little over 6 years ago now that the organizing committee at the time picked my name and decided that I'd
Hmm.
be a really good fit. And
Hmm.
it's been really interesting to see the growth of Canmore Community Housing. So this is an organization for people who aren't familiar that really works on building and finding opportunities for non-market housing. So that is essentially price controlled, whether it's price controlled home ownership that has
Hmm.
restrictions on the resale value or price controlled rental housing that we essentially try to perpetually support to be well below market. We say 10%. It's usually much
Much
further
more.
below that. Yeah. Um, but we were a pretty small, I'd say a small town organization in a way, in the fact that the pace that we were building projects,
Hmm.
and the amount of inventory we were able to build up, and I think we really made a dent in the affordability picture. And it's
Hmm.
amazing that in the year 2000 that somebody, or the people who organized Canmore Community Housing and the Council of the
Hmm.
Day, like they had the foresight to see what was going to be happening now,
Hmm.
and we could get a hard start on this. The fact that we have this organization as a pillar, as a foundation for achieving these affordability and affordable housing goals is really amazing, because we're not starting from scratch here. But over the last 6 years, like, the organization has really scaled up in its
Hmm.
ambition, in what we're attempting to do. And yeah, I mean, lots of growth, so maybe a few growing pains along the way, but
Absolutely.
but at the end of the day, I mean, I think we're really well poised, and there's a great team. And yeah, like I said, we got a great foundation to achieve these affordability goals.
Yeah, it's definitely like such a huge critical part of the community because yeah, like if the town doesn't own it, like you can make something affordable if it's on the open market. Maybe the first person gets the benefit, but they're going to see their property values rise, and when it's time to sell, I guarantee it will not be in that level. So yeah, this is really like honestly probably the best solution of all the potential solutions is having our housing organization
Totally.
right now. And for those folks at home who are like curious about, contemplating making a run for council, et cetera, like what Rob Murray did was really smart. He started like volunteering for various boards and committees, and he got on a really important one and kind of did the legwork and kind of understood a little bit of the municipal zone. And from that spot, built the trust of people and even just understood if he liked it or not. And so like Rob, the fact that he kind of went that full like long path and also contributed to the community along the way. I think that really um, helped with your support during your
Yeah,
election.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and you're right. It definitely gave me sort of a baseline. Like,
Hmm.
I've gone into council orientation, and I've learned a lot, and there's a lot of things I didn't know, but I didn't feel like I was starting from zero. Like,
For
I
sure.
had a decent idea of what the job was about, how the planning documents informed the policy that we're creating, the role of council in directing administration from a sort of a policy level, rather than like, you know, telling them what to do and how to do their jobs. That's not what we do. Uh, um,
No.
yeah, and just even just what a municipal government is, and what we can do, and some of the limitations of the municipal government, because it's a really interesting
Mhm.
sort of arm of the province, really. Uh, I've heard a few times that, like, the municipal governments aren't actually recognized as its own level of government,
We
which I
don't
think
actually have, yeah, it's
yeah,
crazy.
you could debate that, but from like a very like practical level, yeah, we're a creation of the province. We can only do what's in the Municipal Government Act, which is a document that the province has created and can modify at any time.
Yeah, it's one of those strange like paradoxes because I remember someone else was coming up and speaking with us, and then they just talked about like how government, yeah, here we are in Canada, we have like the federal government, then we have our provincial government, and they're mandated to be here, but then there's us, the municipal level, the grassroots level, where we really have a direct relationship. We have to live in the communities where we run, and we are not really like given those like strong constitutional rights to that mandate that we exist. So we can actually literally be made to disappear. But then the crazy thing
Yeah,
is if the world were to ever go for any sort of calamity, um, the one level of government that would survive and have to sustain would be that grassroots community level, which is us. And
yeah,
I think
for
that
sure.
definitely bears some interesting food for thought. So during this time, you've hit orientation. We're drinking from a fire hose. You're like meeting the other counselors. What's been a pleasant surprise for you?
A pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's a really good question. I think something that I didn't really key into until I was into it is, when I've been working at Mountain FM,
Hmm.
for over 20 years, the team when I started in 2001, there were 7 people working in that office. And at the end, there were 2. And the other guy is a sales guy. So we're great friends and we work together a lot, but it's a completely different department than the programming department. So I was really a lone wolf in that office in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
I had a lot of flexibility to do what I wanted with my show, but I hadn't really worked for a team
Hmm.
for a really long time. And now suddenly I'm thrown into an environment where I'm working very closely with six other people on council,
Hmm.
and then also with a team of how many employees are the town of Canmore? It's well over 100, I think.
Oh, we're just over hundreds. It all depends if you count the seasonal folks or if you're just
Sure.
thinking more like, the admin team that's right in the civic center. But there's hundreds,
Yeah,
hundreds of
yeah, and
people.
it's a huge team. So it's been both exciting to actually be part of a team again, but also just a readjustment in my brain of like, okay, there's a lot of other people here at the table,
Hmm.
and there's got to be a lot more collaboration than when I was doing in my last job, which I'm really excited about. It's just a switch, it's a change.
Well, that's a great like pleasant surprise. I know that we have like some bench strength. And what's been something that like it's kind of come in, you're like, oh man, that's a drag.
To be honest,
Yeah.
I haven't really felt like anything's been a drag. I've been
Oh
just
my
really,
gosh. Good
yeah,
job.
right. Yeah. I mean, other than, how busy I've been, it's been a drag from an exhaustion standpoint, but
Hmm.
like I've just been really excited to be doing this job. Even all those, hundreds of pages of documents that we have to read,
Hmm.
and just everything that I've got to learn. Like I'm just
Hmm.
really keen on this new opportunity. I did a radio career for 25 years, which is a really long time to be in one job. So getting a job that I'm, really thrilled about getting, that I've really wanted for a really long
Hmm.
time and been able to achieve that, like it's everything. Like I'm
No.
just so excited to be here, and I'm just really interested in both the exciting parts, the challenging parts, and the mundane parts. I guess that
Yeah.
was three things, not both.
Well,
Three
that
things.
that that's amazing because
Yeah.
it can be a challenging gig at the most challenging time. So that's great that like the enthusiasm and the energy is there. Something I kind of think back on is like back in my first term, like in 2021, something that happens in that first year is usually like every council gets tested with a couple big issues or like one or two
Mm,
really big ones. I remember for us, um, within a very quite short order of getting elected back in 2021, we were dealing with the complexity of the palliative care
right.
center, and that was a very like strange, situation to have to wade through, and that was like a tight vote. I think went 4-3, and then there's also like the abuse that was heaped upon us by like the so-called Friends of the Path was really just a bunch of like private citizens looking to monopolize like a public amenity for their own use. And so those are really trying times. So I kind of look to this, these next 12 months here, and I've got a couple of things in my mind that I think might be like, ooh, these are going to be some like big tests for our council. If you got any in your mind, maybe we can agree on one or two. They're going to be coming up. They're going to be hot and heavy.
Yeah. I mean, I say I'm really excited and enthusiastic about the job. Ask me again in 4 years if I'm still feeling the same way. I really hope I am, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, yeah, definitely a lot of challenges on the way here. The whole livability tax
Hmm.
is obviously been a big conversation in our community with a lot of different opinions,
Hmm.
both in the court of public opinion and the court of like courts.
Yep, for sure.
Um, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out over the next little while here.
Hmm.
Whether the province, how they kind of come to the table here,
Hmm.
and I really, I mean, call me a glass half full kind of a guy, but I
You got to
really
be a
think that
glass
we're
half
gonna,
full guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I really think we're gonna find a way through this that,
Hmm.
gives us what we need as far as being able to address our affordability stuff,
Hmm.
and also is something that will be okay to. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen here, but I have a good feeling about it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I have a good feeling too. I'm an optimist by nature, which is I think the only reason why I was able to continue to do this job. And
yeah.
I do feel the fact that our council has had the courage to navigate through and create that tax has kind of also shown that this is an innovative group of people, and we expect innovative solutions, and there's got to be something that is brought forth. So I feel we've kind of pushed that forward. When I look on my like radar, I think this next year we're going to have that Rendezvous Spa come up in
Mm,
front of council
yep.
probably, and I think that's going to be a big test. So yeah, we'll see what goes on there. Uh, but yeah, I think the other thing that's interesting is too that when it comes down to like councils, it's like coalitions are forming and breaking all the time on the issues. And I'm sure there's going to be times, Rob, when you and I are totally aligned or somewhat aligned on something. They'll vote will go that way, and it could very well be there's another um issue like on that same council meeting that we're going to be like on opposite ends.
Sure.
And I think one of the interesting things is the ability to be with people and like be on different sides of votes on different issues and still have like a lot of respect and admiration for them. And I have that for you. So
Oh, I appreciate that. I
yeah,
have
so
that for you as well, Jeff. And I really hope that carries through with through this 4-year term with all, my council colleagues as well. Because yeah, like I mean, we're not always going to agree on things and we're going to have different opinions on things. But,
mhm,
if at the end of the day, we can say, okay, well, that person disagreed with me, but like it was from an informed place or from a place of goodness and something that was really true to them and true to how they felt they were representing the community voice.
mhm.
I can definitely respect that. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to working with the council team this year. I think we've got a really great team of people, and yeah, it's like I said, a really exciting opportunity here.
Okay, well, with that, I think we're kind of pretty much out of time here. Rob, Mary, I just want to say, like, it's really lovely to have like more like, deeper conversation just for folks to know about you because people ask me, what's Robin like on council? Like, well, I'll just put him on the podcast. And
Awesome.
so folks at home, check out Cam Wright Podcast. You can also check out Rob Murray. Rob, you have a podcast too that sometimes you're putting out. Where can people find that?
Yeah, I ran one during the election that was more just sort of a platform thing. And
Okay.
like I said, I don't really know
Hmm.
what I want to do with it, but I've definitely, when I left Mountain FM, like I really had a goal of wanting to continue like
Hmm.
amplifying the community conversation through like a podcast kind of medium. And I just ended up getting really busy.
Yep.
And it just sort of fell on the back burner. But as things get quiet, like I've got some ideas.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So
stay tuned. I like using my voice and sharing the community
yeah,
stories and voices just like you do. And
totally.
I've got some ideas. So keep an ear out for things.
Okay, awesome. Well, when that idea starts to crystallize, Rob, let's get you on the podcast again so people can know.
Totally.
So have a lovely night, and I'll catch you soon.